you have for us as far as, well, what's your next topic? I'll let you choose.
Okay, what do you think about Sarah Palin? Did you hear that book that just came out and some of the things that Sarah Palin was up to?
Well, let me explain something to you, my friend. It's called propaganda. And there may be some truth to some of it, but probably most of it's garbage. And the fact that, they're saying she slept around or whatever, I want you to give me 10 females that are in top society or politics or wherever you want that didn't sleep around.
Well, I guess their spin is that she is a big member of this Tea Party, a big advocate of the Tea Party, and I guess you don't expect a Tea Party member to be out there sleeping around with NBA basketball players in the past,
well,
allegedly.
Let's face it, my friend, the Tea Party didn't exist until very recently, and she went to college. She was a young girl at once.
Right.
The morals of most people in America, I tell you, is 80 to 90% of women before they get married have sexual.
Well, true. I guess I'm kind of saying that most people view the Tea Party as a lot of racists.
Well, whether you say they're racist or what, the bottom line is that there's no such thing as a quote-unquote virginal Tea Party member. This is something new. So unless you went to a convent in the 1800s, you're not going to find, it's like searching for a vampire. You're not going to find a female that hasn't done anything with somebody.
Right, probably. And do you believe she did all the drugs that they claim she did in her younger days?
You got to realize you're talking about the 80s.
Right.
The 80s. So that you're talking drug central. You're talking the decade that gave us AIDS. You're talking cocaine, cowboys. Of course she did drugs.
Right.
If she went to college, she did drugs. If you went to college in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you had sex, you did drugs.
Well, let's not generalize, but I would say a good majority of people did.
I said 80%. 80%. You might if I were to give you 80%, or I said, here, let me give you 5%, which would you take?
Well, I would take the 80, but I think that might be a bit high.
No, 80% is probably quite correct, and it's probably more into the 90%. So people won't actually be honest and say what they did, but it was free love in the 60s. It didn't get any better in the 70s, and in the 80s it was drugs, AIDS, and love. Let me explain something to you. If it weren't that way, why would those decades be so in history? And if you had a fortunate to live during that time, you even do it yourself.
There was there's one funny quote, just getting off the subject, that I heard from some rocker. And as you mentioned before, in the 80s, AIDS was prevalent, and there was no kind of treatment on it whatsoever. And I believe someone asked this rock star, are you more cautious and less promiscuous as you have been in the past? And the guy said, as long as, since nothing has happened to David Lee Roth, then I'm still into it. And I guess this individual is kind of making it funny because back in the 80s, David Lee Roth was probably one of the biggest conquest of women during that time.
All right. Let's go to something.
Well, I guess that just went over your head, Digital Dave.
It didn't go over my head. It was like blah, 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 blah. I thought I was listening to Charlie Brown's teaching. All right.